today I'm going to take you through a basic introduction to the sit-down counterbalance forklift like the one you see here. Okay, coming to the side here, I've got the drive wheel, right, the sidewall, the tread. This is a nice new tire. This particular unit has a capacity plate right on the front here, which I can see. First of all, its low capacity is 5,300 pounds. So they should come back to neutral. See that when you let them go? That should always happen. And they do have the icons that tell you what they actually do. That has to be there as well. Probably most importantly is my engine oil right here with the big yellow handle on it. I'll just give that a little clean and make sure it's up where it should be. And it is. We'll just raise it up. Notice when I rev the engine, it goes up faster. I'm going to check all my brakes, my service brake, forward and reverse. Excellent. Back up. Good. Great. Left and right. There's that pivot point steering that your trainer probably talked about. Left hand on the handhold, foot in the step. There's two right there. And as I get off, this hand basically falls on the third point right there, and I step off the machine while facing it. For parking and shutdown, you'd like to select an area where it's actually safe to do that. Somewhere where it's on hard level ground. You're not blocking any emergency exits or firefighting gear. Just remember that it's not like driving your car. It steers from the rear, it steers very sharply, it's extremely heavy, and you've got a lot of obstructed vision with that mast in front of you. Okay, wrote it this, here's a standard counterbalance model. We're going to do a pre-use inspection on this unit. Typically, if I was driving this unit at a work site, my inspection would actually begin before I got to the unit. As I approach the machine, when I get to about this stage, I'm 10-12 feet away from it, I'm already looking at the machine for any obvious damage. I can see from here that the brake is set. That's good for me to know. And I'm looking underneath it for any kind of leakage, puddles, fluids, oil, coolant, that type of thing. And another very important consideration is, am I in a place where I can do this inspection safely? Now out here I happen to be in a parking lot where there's nowhere or nothing around for, yards and yards. But if I was in a busy workplace, there could be vehicle traffic going through here. I could be putting myself in danger just trying to get an inspection done. So if that were the case, I'd want to take the machine somewhere where I could do this safely. And that certainly is the case here. So let's walk up to the machine here. Like I say, as I approach, I'm going to make sure that the brake is set here. I know that I'm going to be in front of it, behind it. I do not want this thing rolling while I'm checking things out. So that brake is on. It's in neutral as it should be. Okay, and while I'm here, I may as well start looking at things. This is my overhead guard, as we talked about. There's no evidence of damage. The weldments look good. Everything looks straight, clean. There's a few scratches, but nothing to worry about. This particular grate here is actually the air intake for the engine, so we sure don't want to get any debris or anything over this that's going to plug it and possibly choke the engine and cause it to stall. The engine's going to take in air. This particular gas-powered model is going to take in air to burn the fuel, so we want to make sure that's clear. Let's move around this way now. We'll stop here at the tire. Okay, so I'm just looking at the condition of the tread, the sidewall, looking for, gashes and this type of thing. If it were a pneumatic tire, I'd be looking at the, if it's, got the proper amount of air in it, that type of thing. All the lug nuts are in place and tight, right? The studs are in place. I've been at work sites where there's been 3 lugs missing from one wheel. And this is the type of thing that can happen if you don't check regularly. Things just get away on you. So have a look. You're not going to know unless you look. Okay, so the tire, studs, lugs, everything looks pretty good there. I'm going to have a look in behind the wheel here to see if there's any debris or strapping, shrink wrap, anything that's going to get wrapped around the axle and possibly cause a mechanical problem. Right? And I don't see anything. It looks pretty clear there. I'm happy about that. The tilt cylinder while I'm here, looking for any leakage of hydraulic fluid. Really, there's not much else to look for. You can look on the cylinder rod itself. That's shiny. It's just like it should be, nice and shiny like that. Any nicks or cuts or scratches on that could cause trouble as it goes in and out, as it might cut that seal that's there and allow a hydraulic fluid leak to occur. In behind the mast here, I'm looking at the main lift cylinders to see if they're wet, and well, I'm actually looking to see if they're dry. The chains, the hoses, in behind the mast for debris, anything that strikes me as wrong. Okay, to put it as simply as I can. Moving around to the front of the machine here, we'll look at the backrest. This backrest is a bolt-on accessory, so we want to make sure they're on there tight. I usually like to give it a good shake just to make sure it's secure, just like that. Okay, the backrest itself looks to be in great shape. It's not bent or twisted. I'm looking at the fork blades here now. First of all, I'll take my foot, not my hand, but my foot, just rub it along the blade. see if there's any burrs or imperfections that might get hung up on a pallet or a load. I'm looking at the spacing of the forks. I notice here I've got one notch open on the carriage, one notch over here, so I know they're nice and equally spaced. The locking pins are down and in place, locked into the slots of the carriage. Okay, and the fork ratings here, 1250 by 600, and this one's the same. That's a metric measurement, so that's 1250 kilograms by 600 millimeters, which converts to about 2,700 pounds by 24 inches. So if you add up those two capacities, they should be at least equal to what it says on the plate, if not more than. If not, then we've got a problem. Our forks are not rated for that machine, but they are in this case, as you'll see in a moment when I show you the plate. Okay, now looking at the inner works of the mast here, the main cylinder, the chains are lubricated, they're adjusted properly. The hoses look good, they're not all torn up and see the braiding through them and that type of thing. Inside the channels, it's clear, right? There's nothing in there that's going to cause a problem, and I don't see any evidence of damage. Okay, right outside of the roller bearings, you know, just generally, again, just general stuff. Okay, we'll come around to this side of the machine now. We've got another drive wheel here. We'll look at the tires, the lugs, the rim, the lugs and studs. Okay, the axle cap here, in behind the wheel for any debris, anything wrapped around the axle. Again, tilt cylinder, leakage, the cylinder rod condition, and the hosing and works on this side of the mast behind it. Okay, so again, this one looks really good. And you know, as I'm going, I'm eyeballing all the decals everywhere on the machine too. Here I can see one warning me of a crushing hazard, so I don't want to put my hand in there while it's operating. There's tags and decals all over this thing, so we want to make sure we note those. This model has some lights here, external lights that are mounted on it. I want to make sure that they're not broken, right, that they're ready to go. I'll check that they actually work in a moment when I get on and start it up. But right now they're in place, they're secure, and they're not broken. And this side of the guard, right, the overhead guard, again, a couple of little scratches here and there, but nothing an overhead guard can't handle. So this looks good as a structure, it's very sound, okay, no bends or cracks or anything like that. While I'm here, let's have a look at the capacity plate and just a few things that we talked about in the classroom. Okay, now we can see by this plate, this is a very nice, clear, simple plate. You can see here we have the model number of the unit, the serial number, which is going to come in handy for your maintenance people if they're ever ordering parts or that type of thing. It is a liquid propane fueled truck, so it's LP. The truck weight, look at that, this little thing weighs 8,720 pounds. Unbelievable. Now, it says capacity of a standard truck with simplex masts and forks, 5,000 pounds, a 24-inch load center with the maximum height of 130 rated capacity with optional mast and or attachment listed below. Well, it does have an optional mast, and you can see it's got a lot more than 130 inches of lift. It's got 188 inches of lift. Right? This is now a 3-stage mast, still a 24-inch standard load center, but look at this, 4,400 pounds. It's downrated from 5,000 up here because of the mast. And then if you look with the attachment, which is a side shift, right? That side shift is listed up here. I'm sorry, that's the weight. With the side shift, sorry, there's the side shift listed down there, the model number. It's down to 3,700 pounds with the side shift. So this truck started out at 5,000 pound capacity, but because of the extra high lift mast and the side shift attachment, it's down to 3,700 pounds, 1,300 pound deduction. And like we spoke about in the class, you can see that this model meets design specs of ANSI B56.1. Now we're past the plate and we've looked at the overhead guard on this side. We're coming to the back of the truck now where we're going to check the rear steer tire. Again, our sidewall, tread condition, lugs, studs, that type of thing. I like to look in behind the steer wheels, okay, to see if there's any debris caught up in there. And I also like to take a good look at those hydraulic steering cylinders because they get used. They go in and out a lot. So that seal does wear and you do get leakage out of there, so you got to keep an eye on that. You see anything wetness back there or any drips, that's definitely a machine that should be sidelined and repaired. Coming up to the propane cylinder here, first of all, we want to make sure that the primary shutoff valve is on because we're going to be using it. The locator pin here is where it should be. I'm going to read my liquid level, my fuel level, and since this tank is mounted horizontally, I'm going to read the top horizontal gauge, and that tells me that it's just below a half tank, so I got lots of fuel. Again, I don't smell any propane, I don't hear any hissing, I don't see any cloud or frost on the fittings that might indicate there's a leak. I think this is pretty good to go, and it's good and sturdy in its clamps here, and that's really all I want to do with the propane cylinder. Now I'm looking at the counterweight back here. Not a heck of a lot can go wrong with the counterweight. It's just a big piece of metal that weighs a lot. However, it is held on by a couple of bolts down here, you can see. I like to reach in there and make sure, if I can turn these bolts with my hand, something's wrong. Right? So I just want to make sure they're there and they're tight. And they are. So again, they just hold the counterweight in place. They don't actually support the weight of it. So if they are missing, the counterweight could move on you, and that would be a really bad situation. This is a tow pin. This is in place to, well, to tow things. People can hook onto you to pull you out of somewhere where you might have gotten where you don't want to be, or you can hook onto other people and pull them out. So in any case, you should have your tow pin in there, and that's what it's for. While I'm down here, I'm just looking in the radiator exhaust area here for any kind of debris. I can see the radiator from here. It's not all clogged with garbage. I can see the muffler as well, and I don't see any, particular buildup of debris or anything that makes me think anything's wrong. All right, coming up, we're going to look at the lights on the back of the guard here, our brake lights and backup lights, and everything's in good condition there. The lenses are all in piece, they're not all cracked and that type of thing. And like I say, we'll check to see that they actually work a little later when I hop up there and start her up. Okay, on to the back end of the machine here. Our last tire to look at. Tire condition, sidewall, lugs and studs, in behind. Okay, we've got our cylinder, steering cylinder there. And again, it's just no debris or leakage back there. Just make note, there's a pretty significant chunk of tire missing there, so we'll make note of that. Okay, that brings me back to where we started. So before I hop into the seat, I want to check another very, very important component, and that's the engine. All right, there's a few things that we need to look at. On this particular model, I have to get the seat out of the way, right before I can tip up the hood. There's the latch here. It's different for all forklifts, but on this particular one, that's all there is to it. So right off the bat, what I'm looking for here is, again, debris, all right? Sawdust, shrink wrap, strapping, plastic, paper that gets sucked up. The radiator of the fan on a forklift is a little different, and it actually blows air out, whereas an automotive fan sucks air in through the radiator. So it does pick up a lot of debris off the ground. Generally all the cabling, wires, spark plug leads, the hosing, the belts, right? Everything's in place. Nothing's swollen or leaking or hanging off or anything like that. The battery over there is clamped down as it should be on a forklift. The terminals are clean and tight, as they should be. I'm just going to pull the oil dipstick out. And for those of you that have not seen clean oil before, that's what it should look like. Kind of a honey-colored light tan. There's the second notch it's up to. If it was down to that notch, that would mean we'd be low a quart and it'd be time to add. So this is clean and it's up, and it looks very good. I'm just going to go around to the other side of the machine. I'm going to pull the hydraulic oil dipstick and have a look at that. That's right over here on this model. I'm just going to undo the cap here and take my glove off to get in there. So we'll have a look at the fluid level there. You can see that's also right up and nice and clean. You want to make sure that your mast and all the hydraulic works are down when you take a hydraulic oil reading. Otherwise, a lot of the fluid could actually be in the cylinders, and it'll give you a low reading on that dipstick, and you'll think that you need to add fluid when really you don't. So make sure your cylinders are down. Okay, we don't want you swinging wrenches, we don't want you fixing things, but we do want you noticing anything that needs repair and reporting it. And checking basics like fluid levels, debris, and just generally things that look wrong to you. One last thing before we go, we can lift up the floorboard here, and we can see another stick here. This is our transmission fluid, and you can see that red hue to it, and it's up and nice and full. Not like the old days when it had to be running and in neutral. You can do these with the engine off now, so that's good. And there's a brake fluid reservoir there. That, though, I'm not going to leave shut. I don't like opening the reservoir of brake fluid because any contaminants that get in there or moisture is really bad news for the brake system. So I can see right through it that the level is up and there's no need for me to take off that cap. Okay, close the hood here. So I hear it click. Put the seat back. That didn't go down. There we go. Now we're down. All right. Okay, I'm going to mount the machine now, and just a word about mounting and dismounting. Now, one of the most common compensable injury claims you'll see out there is injuries that are sustained getting on and off the equipment. particularly getting off the equipment. Operators have a tendency to just kind of leap off and slip and twist their ankles, and all kinds of injuries will occur there. What we talk about, or what we practice, is something called a three-point mount. Now, on this particular forklift, it's easy because they've got handles. There's the grip there, and there's a grip here. There's 2 points of contact right there. The third one is my foot, and I'm going to put it right there. So I've now got 3 points of contact. Right? I'm going to pull myself up in the seat. Of course, I don't want to bash my head off the overhead guard, so I'll watch for that. And that's easy enough that most operators will do that. The issue is getting off the machine. The tendency is to just kind of hop off and, like I say, twist your ankle, or you land in a pothole, or you wrap your rear end or your tailbone off the machine itself. Back injuries, broken bones, this kind of thing. More common than you'd think. So the 3-point off, basically you're going to do the same thing getting off as you did getting on. So I'm going to grab here, there's 1, 2, and as I get up, you can see my right hand here falls right onto the handle. I've got 3 points of contact. I get off the machine facing it, which is just the way you'd go up and down a ladder, for example. Always facing it, okay? So let's get back on here. First thing I'm going to do, check out my seatbelt for its condition. There's what a seatbelt should look like. Right, all the webbing is nice, not tattered, and no evidence of any kind of spatter or burn marks or any battery acid got spilled on it. It's nice and all in good shape. All right, I'll just connect this. Make sure that's good and tight. Okay, and I'm going to start it up. Now I know I've checked my oil, I checked my engine, I know everything's good to go. My brakes on, I'm in neutral. Should be able to start up without any problem. There we go. So right off the bat, the engine sounds normal. Okay, there's no squealing or popping or weird noises that make me think anything's wrong. First thing I like to check, horn. Gotta have it. Signing up blind corners, that type of thing. Now I know that works. I'm going to check my lights now, just to make sure they actually work. I can see it shining off my hand here. Those headlights are working. The back driving lights are working. The brake lights. Okay. Just check the backup. That's these here. And you can hear the beeper going too. So now I know that works. Okay, great. Now, I have no warning lights or anything indicating on my dashboard here that anything's wrong. Okay, the hour meter's turning, which it should be. It's actually counting off the hours. That's mainly for maintenance purposes. Usually it's a standard interval of about 250 operating hours before you do your preventive maintenance routines. And I'm going to check all the hydraulic systems now. So just before we get going on that, basically anything that moves, you want to check it through its entire range of motion. Right? You want to know that it works through the whole range, not just a couple of feet or inches in either direction. So I'm going to make sure, first of all, I know I'm going to be putting the mast up. I've got the clearance. I'm not going to be running it through the roof or anything like that. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to just run my mast up, rev the engine, make it on. Okay, so as it goes up, I'm looking at the chains, the main lift cylinders. They're in good shape. They're not all corroded. Again, there's no leakage. There's no strange sounds or anything grinding or squealing or anything like that. Nice and smooth. It went up nice, smooth, and even. Now I'll just bring it down. Again, it comes down the same way, nice and smooth. Not getting hung up. Okay, I'll leave myself room enough to check the tilt. Once again, all the way through the range. So all the way forward, all the way back. Okay, then I'll level it out. Check my side shift because I have one. All the way. And all the way back. Back to center. Now I'll lower it down. And if I was traveling, I'd probably be right around there if I was traveling here. Okay, the next thing I'm going to check is my brakes. Now, I've got 3 brakes on this machine, okay? I've got the hand brake, or the parking brake, whatever you like to call it. I've got a standard service brake, okay? And I've got a inching pedal, or an inch brake. Okay, so to check the hand brake on this particular model, first of all, it's on. And I'm going to leave it there, okay? I'm just going to put my foot on the service brake here, put it in gear. I can just hear it went into gear, and I should be able to just get a little shot, and the handbrake holds. I'll do the same thing in reverse, and there we go. That's all I need to know. Okay, I know that my park brake is holding the machine. Okay, now I'm going to check my other brakes. Okay, I'm going to take the handbrake off. I'm going to check my service brake here. That's this one right here, the middle one. That works just like the brake on your car. Okay, so I'm going to put it in gear. Right, go forward a bit, apply the brake, nice and smooth. It stops me very easily. Check behind. I'm going to back up, and there we go. Now, this pedal is called the inch brake. Now, it's different than the service brake in that, see, when you put this brake on, well, let me demonstrate. If I hold this brake on and I put it in gear, I rev the engine, you can see how the forklift wants to move, okay? But if I put it on this brake and do that, it doesn't. Now, why that is because this inch pedal not only applies the brake, but also puts the machine in neutral, even though it's still in gear up here at the stick on the column. It's still in forward, and that's going to help me when I'm picking up loads and I want to get my mast up. You see, look how slow the mast goes up with the engine idling. On a gas-powered engine, right, you have to rev the engine to make it go up faster, right? And that's going to help you be more efficient and get things done, okay? Now to do that, you can take it out of gear here with your foot at the inching pedal, which allows you to rev the engine while the machine is still and doesn't want to go on you, right? And that's a very, very handy option. As a matter of fact, whenever you drive a forklift like this with an inching pedal, it's quite normal to drive with 2 feet, which you'd never do in your car, okay? So don't feel too badly if you're driving with 2 feet. You should be, all right? So we're going to let the mast down again here. I'm just going to check the inching function. So, right, it doesn't go, and I can take it off and apply the brakes there as well. Same thing in reverse. Okay, then I'm happy with my brakes. So, handbrake, service brake, inching brake, or inch pedal. All right. The last thing I'm going to do for my pre-use inspection is check my steering. So once again, I'm going to want to go through the entire range of motion, and I'm going to move the truck slightly. It's a little easier on the mechanism moving it than staying still. So, you can see that steep pivot point steering. Right, that 90-degree pivot point. Notice how it's pivoting on that front wheel? And it's nice and smooth, it doesn't get hung up, and it easily goes through its entire range of motion without any problems. Okay, for parking, I'm going to put it in neutral. I'm going to apply my park brake. I'm going to tilt my forks forward slightly, lower them to the ground. Whoops. That should do. And I'm going to shut off the engine and the lights. Undo my seat belt. And do a 3-point dismount. Just like that, no slip. And if I was going to leave this for any period of time, I would probably shut off the fuel at the cylinder, just because it's a good, safe measure to take. If I was indoors, leaving it for, say an hour or more, I would definitely shut off the fuel. And as a matter of fact, I would shut off the fuel with the engine running until it's stalled. Then I would shut the key off. And depending on what the rules are on my plant, I may just take those keys with me just in case, someone unauthorized jumps on the machine and wants to take it for a spin. We don't want that happening. And that would pretty much wrap it up. So you just do a walk around. You're looking for obvious items, loose, missing, broken parts. You're looking for leaks out of the hydraulics, coolant, oil, any other fluids that might be in your particular machine. And of course, you're going to check all your powered systems to make sure everything works, and you're good to go. That took us, better part of a half an hour. Normally, when you do this day by day, this is going to take you maybe 5 minutes, if that, right? So you'll get used to it. It'll just flow. You fill out a form, it's done. And, you're safe, everyone around you safe, and everything's good, and you're in compliance. All right, I'm just going to demonstrate picking up and placing a load. So getting into a tight spot using that pivot point steering in the machine the way it was designed. Get into position, raise the mast. I'm going to pick off the top 3 pallets here. Okay, that looks pretty good. I'll go straight in. Nice and clean, or as clean as I can. Good full bite, lift, tilt, look behind. It's clear. I'm going to back straight up, watching what I'm doing up here. Stop, lower it down. I'm going to travel over to my right here and place the pallets over there. All right, now deposits, basically the same thing. Going to get ourselves in position. Nice and straight on with our deposit stack. Stop, raise the mast. Just enough so I can see, and right now I'm lining up my center cylinder with the center board of the pallet. Okay, lower down, tilt level, and so I'm clear, look behind, straight out, watch what I'm doing here. Okay, stop when I'm clear, lower the mast. Okay, back out. Again, just using that tight pivot point steering to get into tight spots.